This is WWE superstar Drew McIntyre, and you're listening to the WWE Podcast.
The champ is
the one that everybody wants, me.
It's going to WrestleMania. Claymore!
Austin 316 says I just whipped your ass. This is my iron. You're going to acknowledge me.
What's going on, everybody? Guys and girls, welcome back to another edition of the SmackDown Review right here on the WWE Podcast. As always, I'm one of the hosts of the show, Michael Ritter. You can find me on X, formerly known as Twitter, at Michael5Ritter, and also one of the hosts of the Football Function Podcast, available on all of your podcasting platforms, including on Patreon. I do want to apologize, first and foremost, for this episode, which is the go-home show for SmackDown, coming out as late as it is. This is actually the first time that, we've had these pay-per-views come on Saturday, and the ones that are international, or at least, across the world, talking about like Saudi Arabia over there, Crown Jewel being the most frequent that we see, they usually start way early in the day. Like this one, where I live, Central Time Zone, this pay-per-view starts at noon, and I'm not getting a chance to record it until 11:30. It's just scheduling conflicts. Usually I like to try to manipulate the schedule and try to make sure that I can get these episodes done on Friday night whenever there's a pay-per-view that early in the morning. But sometimes it just doesn't work out, so I do apologize for that. I also apologize for not making it last week. However, I do want to give John a big shout out for filling in and holding down the fort here on the SmackDown Review. He was actually supposed to be here with me this week. It just didn't work out. Kind of like I said, scheduling is just kind of an issue around this time of year. And, it is what it is. I do expect John and I to break down one of these SmackDowns together here pretty soon. In fact, since I've moved studios, it's no secret, I was recording in what we called Funky Town. That's just my old studio for obviously a play on words for the football function. Now we're in the Function Dungeon. It's our new studio. It's much bigger. It's got a whole new look. And John and I have yet to record in here together. I do believe that he's filled in twice since I've been down here. But I do expect us to be able to have a multi-host show very, very soon. But as far as last night goes, as far as the SmackDown goes, I'm looking forward to talking about that with you guys. But first, I do want to tell you why I wasn't here last week. Not sure if John mentioned it to you, or I'm sure I, mentioned it on the show in weeks prior. But I was able to go to a Kiss concert in Dallas, Fort Worth, which I only live about 5 hours away from there. But long story short, Kiss has been around since like 1973. Like that was their first live documented show as Kiss. And I was born in 1993, so 20 whole years after that. Bands usually don't last like that, guys. Like bands don't perform late into their 50s, much less in their 70s. So the fact that I was able to go see these guys perform live is, a pretty big bucket list item for me, just being completely honest. They came about an hour away in Lubbock, Texas, home of the Texas Tech Red Raiders. They came here to Lubbock around like 2018, somewhere around there, probably like 5 or 6 years ago. And, if you try to plan it with a group, now that's why I like to go to my Falcons games by myself from time to time, because if you try to plan things with a group, you're having to rely on those people. You're having to make sure that, doesn't matter if you get your ticket or if you're as prepared as you could possibly be to go. If they're not doing their part, the whole trip can fall through very easily. In fact, if you go with a group of 4 and one person backs out, it usually always kind of takes a little bit of the flavor out of it. Well, damn, one person's already bailed. And I think that was the case back then. I think that, it was a group of us that planned to go. And once one of us kind of, said, hey, I can't make it, another person said, hey, I can't make it. Before you know it, the show's 2 weeks away. Nobody's gotten their tickets. And I was a lot younger then, so I wasn't able to kind of, pull it out of my rear end to be able to go to a trip like that. But I was really kicking myself big time over the past, handful of years thinking, man, I had an opportunity to see them in person, and I blew it. I didn't go check it out, and for whatever reason, that kind of stuck with me, and I wasn't able to get past it. And then they go on this end of the road tour. they're going overseas. Grim Reaper actually went to one of their shows a few months ago. And, they were here in the States, and I saw that they were going to Fort Worth. And I just told myself, man, I have to do this. Like, I have to make it happen. I did go to the mountains. That's whenever John filled in the first time. I think it was back, early October. And then John and I went to Monday Night Raw mid-October. And then the Kiss concert late October. I also celebrated my 30th birthday in that time frame. It was a massive month, a massive October. But because of all the things that happened before that, I wasn't sure if Kiss was going to be doable. I wasn't sure if I was going to be able to actually squeeze it in. And luckily, I was. Luckily, I wasn't going to allow history to repeat itself. So I got the ticket, just one ticket by myself. Luckily, my girlfriend was able to come with me. She, didn't go to the concert. Tickets were extremely expensive. They were going up $20 to $40 a day for the same seat if you were waiting, So I didn't want to either spend a lot more money buying it whenever I knew I was going to buy my ticket and go solo. I didn't want to, end up, just because I waited 2 days, ended up spending $80 more. Tickets get expensive. And I just said, screw it, I'm doing this. Luckily, I was able to make it happen, and it was a time to definitely remember one of the most important nights of my life, just getting a chance to check something like that off the bucket list. It definitely doesn't happen every day, and I was extremely appreciative for everything taking place. But nonetheless, I just wanted to let you guys know. I feel like we're a team here in the SmackDown review. Those of you that are loyal listeners, obviously, you've been around for years. I appreciate you guys so much. Those of you that kind of pop in here or there, I appreciate you too. Hopefully you'll make this show part of your weekly routine and come back every single week. That's really what we want here on the SmackDown Review, WWE podcast in general. We really want to build this growing community as much as, it possibly can. And you guys already know I'm a very interactive host. Like if you mention something to me, whether it's on Twitter, Instagram, the Patreon app, directly on my email or something, I'm going to get back to you and we're going to talk about this. So I definitely appreciate those of you that have reached out. I did want to give a shout out to the mailbag show because of this hectic week. Like I mentioned, it's been a pretty busy last few months in my personal life. It's easy for me to forget about things. And Rocky T, he mentioned, shout out to Rocky T, host of the Wrestle Magic show. He got in touch with me to try to call in the mailbag and, just pretty much say happy birthday to it because it celebrated its 3-year anniversary, which kind of, like I mentioned, the mailbag and me here on the SmackDown on the SmackDown review, we go hand in hand. We started right around the same time exactly back in the year 2020. So yes, I did want to give a shout out to the mailbag. I wasn't able to call in. That's on me. Scheduling just made me forget. Next thing you know, bam, it's like way too late. So yeah, I definitely dropped the ball there, but I definitely want to give a shout out to Matt, everybody who calls in and contributes to the mailbag. That's a phenomenal part of this platform. I do believe it's one of the most popular episodes that, come out every single week. And it's something that I definitely need to get back into, being a part of more, frequently. But just wanted to give a shout out there where it is due now. Let's turn our attention to why we're here in the first place. It's currently 11:38 right now. So Crown Jewel hasn't started yet. I think because it hasn't started yet, I'm going to go ahead and get my preview or my predictions for that really quickly. If you'll just bear with me here, I'm going to get this stuff pulled up because I didn't want the show to start or begin and me not have my predictions out just yet. Because I did plan on doing my predictions at the end of the show. That's usually how I do this type of thing if I break down the SmackDown immediately after and it's a go-home show. For whatever pay-per-view it is, I'll go ahead and do my, predictions for it. And I planned on doing that because I wanted to record this show last night. Time didn't allow it. So here I am this morning. I still want to get it out. So I'm just going to kind of switch it up a little bit. And I'm going to do it before I actually break down SmackDown here. So let's see what the match card looks like. I'm going to scroll down to the bottom. I don't want to start with, obviously, the main event. So here we go. Kickoff match. We got Sami Zayn and JD McDonough. I'm going to go Sami Zayn. He's just, on another level than McDonough, so it just makes sense for me that he gets to win here. Although it would be a good win for McDonough to really prove himself and, I guess maybe have a more permanent role there in the Judgment Day. But as of now, I'm definitely going to go with Sami Zayn. The WWE Women's Championship, Io Sky versus Bianca Belair. Bianca is, she's reaching Charlotte territory when it comes to her. If she's not a champion, She's competing for a championship, and she's just always around that main event picture. So there's going to be times where she has to lose. It is what it is. I think this is going to be one of those times. Io Sky seems like a good champion, the right champion to have at this very moment. Going into the winter, approaching Royal Rumble season, you want to have a nice heel champion. You want to have that built-in storyline that could end up culminating at WrestleMania if they play their cards right. I mean, clearly long-term storytelling is not a problem for this, this creative team in WWE. Look at Roman Reigns, for God's sake. So clearly they could do the same thing with the WWE Women's Championship. So, for that reason alone, I think that it just makes too much sense to leave that title on Io Sky. John Cena versus Solo Sikoa. Something tells me John Cena gets this win. I don't know what it is, just being completely honest. Something just tells me that because he pointed out how long it's been since he got a win, he's probably going away very, very soon. I could see him stealing this one. Now, should Solo Sikoa be the one who wins? Absolutely. They're talking about this guy being the future tribal chief, the future head of the table. He's someone who at one point was very tough to beat until Cody Rhodes knocked him off, I believe. He had yet to be defeated in WWE. So clearly they take beating Solo very serious. Someone like John Cena clearly wouldn't hurt his resume too much. But, my guts tell me to go with Cena, so that's exactly what I'm going to do. Cody Rhodes versus Damian Priest. I'm going to have to pick Cody Rhodes here. I don't know. I just feel like, they already lost their championships. Him in main event, Jey Uso. Cody Rhodes needs to stay hot. He needs to stay on the winning track. And something about this matchup in particular, I don't see Damian Priest. I know he is Senior Money in the Bank. Clearly, they're trying to push this guy as well as a main event player. So either one can win here. I do believe that some interference would have to come out if Judgment Day or if Damian Priest were to get the win, then Judgment Day would have to interfere in some way, shape, or form. But give me Cody Rhodes to steal this one. I am a little bit babyface heavy so far, my picks, except for Io Sky. Let me see if it changes here. We got the United States Championship, Rey Mysterio versus Logan Paul. I think this is where it changes. I do believe so. Logan Paul, he's only in WWE for a cup of coffee, but we can't have long reigning champions with every single title. You look at what they're doing with the Intercontinental Championship, the longest reign ever in the history of that historic championship. You look at the Universal Championship with Roman Reigns. I saw a stat. Shout out to John for sending this to me. But Roman Reigns, if he's champion New Year's Day, which, spoiler alert, he probably will be, he will have passed Triple H's entire championship day total. Meaning, all 14 of Triple H's World Heavyweight, WWE Championship, Undisputed Championship, whatever it is, every single day that Triple H spent as a 14-time champion, a very long time, a Hall of Fame career, Roman Reigns is going to surpass that total in this one title reign. Not counting the previous title reigns that he had as Universal Champion and WWE World Heavyweight Champion. Just this reign alone that's been over 3 years now, Roman Reigns is, that kind of put it in perspective for me. The fact that Triple H is somebody who I, highly, highly think of. Like, Triple H is one of the greatest heels of all time, one of the greatest wrestlers of all time in general in terms of storytelling, believability. It really, it does not get better than Triple H, but Roman Reigns is clearly showing that statement isn't just, universally true. That statement right there can be debated in some ways, and whenever you talk about their total days as champion, Roman Reigns is going to absolutely dismantle that in only one run, so that's extremely impressive. But I say that in meaning that we can't have historic reigns everywhere, We need some of these titles to be hot potato a little bit. Not quite, that quickly, but Rey Mysterio dropping this championship makes all the sense in the world because Logan Paul he's marketable. Like, he really is. Logan Paul is someone who, when you look at, that whenever he's advertised, whether you like it or not, it does draw numbers. It does bring people in because, hey, Logan Paul, he's not your everyday wrestler. This is a guy who's extremely charismatic. He's just dripping with personality. What's he going to say? He can go out of left field. He's extremely talented in the ring. Let's just give the guy credit. He is someone that could absolutely go, especially for all the other things that he has his toes dipped in right now. It's not just the WWE. He's not committing full time to this. If he was, I think he'd be one of the best dudes that WWE has, just being completely honest. He tore his ACL in the ring, and he's already back in a championship match. It just makes sense to me. Give Logan Paul this championship win here. Women's World Championship. Rhea Ripley defends her championship in a fatal 5-way with Nia Jax, Zoe Stark, Shayna Baszler, and Raquel Rodriguez. I don't see them dropping the title off of Rhea here. She is arguably the hottest wrestler in WWE right now. That's men, that's women, that's everybody included right there. I mean, I went to Raw not that long ago. She's an enigma. Like, whenever you look at her in the ring, everyone, you're drawn to her, whether you're a fan, whether you kind of despise the Judgment Day. If Rhea Ripley is on the screen, it's hard not to, I guess, take your eyes to her. She's still so young, and she's already reaching such heights in the ring and amongst like the popularity with the fans. You almost look at her like, had Odell Beckham Jr., the wide receiver formerly of the Giants, DJ Kuzmo's Giants. You look at her and you see that young potential that we saw with Odell, where it's like, man, he's so young and he's already doing this great stuff. He's already building such an impressive resume. Obviously, injuries derailed his career and he wasn't able to, to reach the heights. But Rhea Ripley is in a situation where she absolutely can reach her potential. She can reach those heights that so many people forecast for her, because why not? She's got the size, she's got the skill, she's got that character that you really, really like, and she's already shown flexibility in her character. She has new hairstyles all the time. She's able to be flexible with who she is, and I truly think that's going to benefit her. We're going to see her recreate herself multiple times over the course of her career, but right now, this Monday Night Mommy, whatever you want to call her, she's on top of it. And I mean, her shirt, what does it say? Mommy's always on top. I think that tonight, Mommy will continue to be on top and be the reigning women's world champion. Let's see here. World Heavyweight Championship match. Seth Rollins versus Drew McIntyre. I'm picking Drew McIntyre. I really am. Like, honestly, I think that Drew McIntyre, all right, number one, I just mentioned it. We can't have long reigns everywhere. We need somebody to have a short title reign. Seth hasn't had a short one, but this is a brand new championship. Let's get some more lineage on it. Let's get another name, another big-time champion, a World Heavyweight Championship win. Drew McIntyre deserves this, not only because Drew McIntyre is on the theme. He's on the Open for the WWE podcast. He said my freaking name in a cameo that Matt made for all the hosts here. That was, a gracious thing for Matt to do, and just, that was definitely badass to hear Drew McIntyre say my name. So yeah, I do have a little bit of a soft spot for Drew. Would I love to see him win this championship? Absolutely. Hell yes. Give me Drew McIntyre being the new World Heavyweight Champion, which takes us now to the undisputed WWE Universal Championship match. I love LA Knight. Look, I got 2 LA Knight shirts. He's someone that, I always, whenever I see him come out, his music, just that pop, I turn my TV up. I'm excited for this match. I just don't think he's going to win. I don't think there's a chance in hell. I just mentioned it. Roman Reigns is going to break Triple H's title reign record for all his 14 championships on January 1st. Why would they do? We're already creeping up into WrestleMania. The long game is still being played. There's no way in hell Roman Reigns is going to lose this championship at Crown Jewel. There's just absolutely no way. I hate that this is the opportunity that LA Knight gets, but hey, make the most of it. Show that you are a big-time player, a main event player here on SmackDown, and hopefully we get you going long term, in this championship picture. But let's go ahead and fast forward. And I wanted to get the predictions out of the way, so I did that. I didn't want to save that for the end of the show after Crown Jewel started. It is 11:49 right now, so there's no reason for me to wait any longer. Let's go ahead and get in to the SmackDown review, which took place. It was a rerun, or a taped, I should say. It was taped after last week's SmackDown, so it took place in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, the same place as last week. Location breakdown brought to you obviously by DJ Kuzmo. This episode of SmackDown aired on November 3rd, 2023, like I mentioned already, and you should already know by now, it is the go-home show for Crown Jewel. So go-home shows are always a big deal. They're always a pretty good way to gauge who's going to win. Who looks supreme, who comes out on top. That's who's most likely going to, end up being the one who gets the victory once the pay-per-view actually gets here. So what happened on this SmackDown? We're not going to go chronological order. We're kind of just going to run through and and talk about it. I will say, though, we might as well talk about this segment first because LA Knight did open the show. He and Roman Reigns had a little bit of a face-off. I must say it was a little underwhelming. I expected a little bit more. Maybe it was because it was a tape show. You're not going to get all the bangers. You're not going to get, that phenomenal segment and promo from each of these guys. We did get a little bit later from another match that'll happen, so we'll talk about that. But in terms of this one, I just really didn't think there was a whole lot to take away from it. LA Knight I don't know if he had like a fat lip or something on his lip, but it was a little bit distracting when he was cutting his promo. So look for that. Although this was a pre-tape show, so it's already been a week. So tonight, if he did have a messed up lip, it's probably already better. And it was just a little bit of something that was a side note. Had nothing to do with the segment or anything like that. You might not have even noticed it, but it was something I was like, does LA Knight have a fat lip? Like, what's going on there? But they start the show. They kind of go back and forth. They have to be split up by, Nick Aldis, some security, referees. They go face-to-face a little bit. But still, like I said, this just wasn't really – the contract signing was so much better that they had last week, So I totally understand the way that they booked it, given that, they wanted to have the last live show have the juicy contract signing segment. So I totally understand that. But – I don't know. I just felt like this one fell a little bit flat. Hopefully we get a nice video package to get us a little bit more excited for the match tonight because the go-home show certainly did not do it for me. But the real juicy moment that happened in this show, I have to just go ahead and talk about it right now, is John Cena with half a voice. He sounded kind of like this. He kind of just, for whatever reason, his voice was given out on him. Probably because he was talking all day, was screaming during promos, whatever the reason is. John Cena's voice was given out on him, and he was still able to absolutely chew Solo Sikoa up, spit him out, and throw him in the trash. Like, it was just a dismantle. John Cena just shows why he's on a whole nother level. He came to the ring after Solo Sikoa pretty much stopped Paul Heyman because Paul Heyman started talking to the crowd. He started addressing the crowd. Solo says, hey, stop. Why are you talking to them? We didn't come out here to talk to them. We came out here to talk face-to-face with John Cena. So John Cena comes out there. Solo points out how he's pissed off that he has to wait a whole day to kick his ass. But he does have specific orders from the tribal chief, and those orders are to allow John Cena to say goodbye to the crowd because Solo is apparently going to just give him one of those Samoan spikes, put him on the shelf. John Cena won't be able to talk anymore. But John Cena takes the mic and he says, look, we've waited a whole year for you to talk. We've waited a whole year for you to provide some sort of depth to your character. And that's what you give us? Like, are you kidding me, dude? Like, is that it? He calls him I want to make sure I get this right. He calls him a bargain bin Taz ripoff right in front of Paul Heyman, who's very familiar with Taz from the ECW days, obviously back on SmackDown, way back in the Ruthless Aggression era. Paul Heyman's jaw dropped. Oh my God, he is really about to absolutely murder this guy. He literally tells him, the only reason you have a job here is because of your cousin. Like, he wasn't lying when he said that. Like, I don't think that WWE was going to be kicking down the door to sign Solo Sikoa had this bloodline storyline not been going on and they needed some quote unquote, or no pun intended, I should say, new blood in this whole thing. So we get Solo Sikoa, and I'm a fan of him. He's without a doubt delivered, and he's grown his character, not promo wise, but just from believability. He's better in the ring. He is a force to be reckoned with. But John Cena just, he dismantled him. He even said, dude, I'm going to do this in less than 90 seconds. Like, it's not even going to take me 90 seconds to absolutely kill you here. He does it. It's just so easy for John Cena. Like, I feel like there was at one point where it stopped being a job for him, and it's just like, all right, this is easy. Give me the microphone. I'm going to speak into it. Paul Heyman even said last week, like, dude, you were the greatest, because I watched SmackDown on my way back from Dallas, just a little bit of a spoiler. You were the greatest person that speaks into a microphone of all time. Paul Heyman says, dude, I've been doing this for 50 years and I'm still doing it, like John Cena's the best. And I truly believe that. Like, just whenever you talk about passionate promos, obviously, he's brought so much into it. It's a different era. The people back in the day, the Ric Flairs, the Hulk Hogans, even The Rock to an extent, they were able to do a lot more than what John Cena was able to do in the PG era, the completely micromanaged era of WWE. and he still has a seat at the table. He still has, an argument, a leg to stand on whenever you talk about the greatest talkers of all time. So it's not a surprise that he just dismantled Solo. And he also, said, so yeah, you better tape that thumb up real tight. You better tape it up real good because the only place it's going is up your what. So great stuff. Just great stuff by John Cena. I loved seeing this. I saw it on Twitter because I was a little bit late to watch SmackDown. So I saw it on Twitter before I went and watched the show. And I was like, oh, man, like he's going to kill him. Like this is just, I cannot wait to get to this segment. And obviously, it was even better once you had the full context of the whole segment and just great stuff. Although the SmackDown itself wasn't the most phenomenal show, I do believe this was by far the best, the best part of the entire night. But let's talk about some of the other things that happened on this episode of SmackDown. Kevin Owens defeated Austin Theory after hitting a stunner. Look, well, first off, great seeing Kevin Owens. Like, absolutely love seeing Kevin Owens on SmackDown. He has that new graphic that's like a brick wall, and just that, that ball just breaks through it that says Kevin Owens. He still has that blue duct tape shirt, the KO, Just Keep Fighting. Definitely going to have to get that shirt. Just a little bit of a side note. Grayson Waller on commentary provided some, some pretty comical stuff, nice, entertaining. He's definitely someone that's starting to grow on me a little bit. Just his role on this new version of SmackDown, I like it. Since this draft happened with these recent NXT call-ups, Grayson Waller is definitely someone that I think is going to find a home here, whether it's on SmackDown, Raw, whatever, just in the WWE. I think he'll be here for a little while. But I am happy to see Kevin Owens get the win. It's just nice. He's someone that I'm, putting stock into. I definitely want to buy into, what he has going on because, I think that there's a place for him. Number one, there's an opportunity for him to, try to go after Roman Reigns once 2021 just begins. It's been a while since we've gotten, the Kevin Owens side of this. When we did, it was on Raw, and he was kind of trying to go at them all by himself. Now, the Usos really aren't there. I mean, Jimmy's kind of sort of there, but it's like, is he really? He's just kind of like a thorn in everybody's side. I could see Kevin Owens having to go through Solo. That just seems like a great matchup on paper anyways. Kevin Owens having to go through Solo en route to getting a match on the way to WrestleMania, not at WrestleMania, with Roman Reigns. We can get this match happening at some point. I'm not sure was it Elimination Chamber? Maybe we can get him versus, in the Sami Zayn role last year, in Montreal Elimination Chamber, we had Sami Zayn going up against Roman Reigns. We could get something like that this year with Kevin Owens right before WrestleMania gets here and, get a nice program, a nice 4 or 5 weeks of SmackDowns out of it. But let's see here. We get backstage Damage Control brawling with Bianca Belair, which does eventually lead to Bianca Belair and Bayley having a match one-on-one, obviously, to close out the show. But backstage, things get a little bit interesting. We see the Street Profits kind of laughing, just having a nice little chit-chat with Bobby Lashley. And then all of a sudden, B-Fab walks up. She compliments the Street Profits. Hey, new suits, Rolexes, you guys look really good. Hey, Bobby, can I talk to you for a second? So she tries to talk, get Bobby Lashley to go in private. They're going to go have a little bit of a discussion. And obviously, we kind of know where this is leading. I think that she'd be a good fit, no doubt. B-Fab would be a great fit in what, this new faction is doing, although it is a little bit of a, I don't know if I like the presentation of it. Now, had they sought her out, like had B-Fab been the one sitting there backstage looking troubled, her team just left. They all got fired, for Christ's sake, so she's pretty much there by herself. Had they walked up to her whenever she was, in a little bit of a situation, maybe getting, quote unquote bullied by Piper Niven and Chelsea Green or just some of the other heels that are, on the SmackDown women's roster, she could have definitely, said something to them and just needed some assistance. So Bobby Lashley and the Street Profits walk up and say, hey, let us talk to you for a little bit, let us guide you. Almost, kind of like what the Judgment Day is doing to various different people. We could have seen the Street Profits do this, or just Lashley by himself and say, hey, let me talk to you, and then she got recruited. It's just different, if they get recruited, if you see the faction wanted them, it makes them look a little bit better than, hey, I was just in this failing group. Let me try to latch onto this. I see you guys look good. I see you guys are all doing well. I want to jump on this money train. Let me have a word with you. It's not the worst, but at the same time, I'm like, they could have done it a little bit different in my personal opinion. Up next, we get a tag team match. The women's tag team champions, Chelsea Green and Piper Niven, were set to face off against Shotzi Blackheart and a quote-unquote friend. We weren't sure who the friend was going to be. It ended up being Charlotte Flair. And obviously, spoiler alert, Charlotte and Shotzi win this thing. Charlotte hits her with a big boot, Chelsea Green, I believe it is, and they end up becoming number one contenders for those women's tag team championships, if that means anything these days. I'm not sure if Charlotte and Shotzi make that great of a team, if I'm being honest, but who knows? You know, we've seen weirder teams kind of go together. Sometimes opposites attract, and we can end up getting, you know, a nice little run by them as a tag team. Up next, we get Pretty Deadly versus the Brawling Brutes, Elton Prince and Kit Wilson versus Butch and Ridge Holland. This was a brutal match. It was an old-fashioned Donnybrook. So we had the tables, we had those barrels outside the ring, all kinds of shillelaghs left and right. And which team comes out on top? Pretty Deadly. It was wild. There was like it was like a power bomb on Butch through the table. A nice spot there. I think Pretty Deadly is showing they can get down and dirty. They're showing that they can hang with, you know, pretty much any team. I do believe their arrow is pointing up. We've already seen one of them sustain an injury and put them on the shelf for about a month, and they were able to bounce back and bounce right back into relevancy. And now we see them featured on the show. So we'll see if it continues and if maybe they eventually work themselves into a championship title match. Up next on the show, we have a United States Championship weigh-in. Logan Paul and Rey Mysterio. Logan Paul weighed in at 213. Rey Mysterio weighed in at 175. Obviously, Logan Paul laughed at that. A little bit of a mismatch there, which is kind of leading me a little bit to why I'm picking Logan Paul. Not quite the only reason. We've seen Rey Mysterio beat the Big Show. You know, we've seen him beat several people that are obviously way bigger than him, so it's not like a size thing, but I just think at this moment in time, it just makes sense for Logan Paul to come out on top here. So, yeah. But as far as this weigh-in goes, they kind of get face-to-face. There's a microphone there, so we hear what they're mouthing to each other. It's kind of strange. Actually getting a chance to hear that. Usually you see a face-off, and you can kind of see their lips moving, but you can't actually hear what they're saying. So that was just a little bit strange. But nonetheless, Logan Paul taps Rey Mysterio on the head, like gives him a little bit of a pat, saying, I didn't know you were this short. You are short, aren't you? Or something like that. And Rey Mysterio just slaps him across the face. So, yeah, we're going to see a little bit more action going on here with these two once Crown Jewel actually gets started. But this is definitely one match that I'm extremely excited for. But this does take us to the main event here, Bianca Belair versus Bayley. And Bianca hits a KOD after, Belair slammed Bayley through the announcer's table. And she also hit a, KOD post-match. So that's one of the things that she definitely left her mark here. There was a moment backstage earlier in the show where Bayley kind of teased at Io Sky, hey, how about I take care of Bianca tonight, and I'm the one that challenged you tomorrow night. There was like some awkward silence. Hey, I'm just kidding. Obviously, I'm just kidding, guys. Come on. Funny stuff. I'm telling you, this is good stuff. It's not quite Evolution, but we're getting a little bit of a page out of that playbook, and hopefully going to see more of that tonight, or I guess here right now on Crown Jewel. It's 12:07. I tried to run through this bad boy rapid fire. One take. Wasn't really any, editing that needed to be done. I wanted to get this bad boy done in a timely manner so I can get it to Matt. Obviously, this is just part of scheduling. I definitely didn't want the show to cut this close to Crown Jewel, but it is what it is. We move and we continue on. I hope you guys all enjoy Crown Jewel and whatever else it is that you guys have going on. The Celtics play tonight, so I'm going to be watching that as well. A great weekend is in store, and I hope you guys have a damn good weekend as well. Walk passionately in the direction of your dreams, and I'll talk to you soon.
Thanks for listening to the WWE Podcast. Don't forget to subscribe on your favorite podcast app so you don't miss a show, or head to WWEpodcast.com. And for all of these shows ad-free, head over to patreon.com/WWE Podcast. Until then, we'll see you next time.